to fight on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. I wanted to do this piece because, like Rush with MSNBC, not that I'm like Rush, but I don't quote the BBC, that's by choice. But I chose to make this exception to show you, in an audio-only format, how distorted their views are on so-called right-wing protesters in Paris, France, who are doing nothing more than protesting fake carbon dioxide taxes, which are nothing more than an attack on ordinary citizens. We must take this as an example to fight our government here in Canada and put them on notice that Canadians will not tolerate business as usual. They cannot impose taxes and not expect consequences. There will be serious political consequences in Canada, and probably political consequences that no party in Canada have foreseen. It will not be business as usual. Canada is about to rise up and take its country back. It is as simple as that. We will not tolerate $7 a gallon for gas. Trudeau will be pushed out of office because Canadians cannot, will not, and should not accept this as the norm. Business is not as usual. Be on notice. Here's the clip. I apologise for the quality. You won't find it anywhere, but you'll find it here.
These are the scenes that President Macron has likened to a war zone. Nationwide protests against fuel hikes now into their second week. This weekend saw violence on the Champs-Élysées, the so-called yellow vest protesters clashing with police. Stones were thrown, barricades brought down and water cannons were used. Shops on the iconic strip were forced to board up their windows. Those that didn't risked being vandalised. Now the finance minister is warning about the cost to the economy.
Dans la grande distribution, in terms of large retail outlets, the drop in revenue was 35% on the first day of the protests and 18% last Saturday. During the week, it was down between 8 and 15% in all of the large retail outlets.
The government blames ultra-right gangs for the violence in Paris, but the movement behind the protests has no formal structure or affiliation, and that might make it harder to quell the popular support it's gained. Demonstrators say President Macron is out of touch with ordinary people, and some are even calling for him to resign. As businesses count the cost of the protests, it's difficult to see where the room for compromise might be. Lebo Diseko, BBC News.
So the Finance Minister, President Macron as well, telling protesters their demonstrations are hurting the country. From Paris, though, Hugh Schofield explained why many people are still so upset.
What we've seen in the last 10 days is, this outpouring of anger from people living not in the cities but out in the countryside or in the periphery of towns who need to use their cars an awful lot. And who feel that they are the big losers in this great green challenge which that France is embracing, and they feel that they want to make their voice heard. And what Macron said today was to them, well, yes, you're right, we understand, I understand, I can see why you feel grievances. You've been told to move out of the big cities, you've been told to invest in cars, in diesel cars, and now it's all coming back to hit you in the face. I understand that, but I'm afraid there's an overriding priority now, which is to protect our future, to make the transition to a cleaner economy over the next 2 or 3 decades. So not much really for these people who've been protesting, except an acceptance that they are the victims, that they are the prime victims of this. And Macron promised to consult with them. There will be meetings between their leaders and the government. And then one concrete concession he said to them was that this carbon tax, which will start hitting it even more in January, will be adjustable depending on the world price of fuel. So if there's a spike in the world price of fuel, presumably that will knock some small amount off the tax, so that the big fuel jump like we've seen recently isn't repeated. But I really doubt that's going to be the kind of measure that's going to satisfy the protesters. But Macron can at least say he's sticking to his guns.
Hugh Schofield in Paris there.
You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. You can now find us on Spotify. Just go to the podcast section and type Canadian Politics with a Twist and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio, that's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.